Hello, welcome to the afternoon, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your lunch. I am not going to get told off now because I'm doing a Nerdio talk, and I got told off by Nige. I got told off by Nige earlier for not. Wrong event. It's always my own time I'm wasting, isn't it? Thanks for coming. Really quick talk today about Nerdio. If you don't know what Nerdio is, why not? Most people know Nerdio as the easy button for AVD. So we don't replace AVD. We're not a new broker stack. We take your existing, people say investment in AVD, but a lot of people out there are probably getting AVD for free as part of some of their licensing. But if you've come from very mature tool sets like Citrix, like Horizon, whatever, you're probably used to having a level of polish around what you're doing in those environments. And if you go to native AVD and the native services in AVD and the interfaces, it can be quite a jarring experience, and there's quite a lot of gaps in there. So we're really well known for bridging some of those gaps and providing some nice interfaces. And we've got some really nice technologies around the side to kind of really drive cost optimization and really kind of manage the life cycle of those machines through automation. And that's what we do, and that's what we're quite well known for if you don't know us. I'm not going to talk about any of that today, because today's talk is around what else are we doing now. A lot of the market know Nerdio as the AVD people. We give you the easy button for AVD. But now we're changing. We've moved the product on. There was a load of announcements in April at an event we run called NerdioCon. And we're beginning to very rapidly build out our feature set in other complementary Microsoft technologies. So what are these other technologies? Well, we're talking about Windows 365. So your cloud PCs, whether that's dedicated, whether that's frontline shared, whether that's the new app streaming for Windows 365. We're covering all of those bases for you. A lot of us in this space are beginning to do those items as well. There's already been talks from 2 other vendors who are also beginning to move into that 365 space as well. But to complete the circle, we're moving into Intune world as well. And I'm here today to tell you about kind of really what we're doing around Intune. Yes, we do 365, but to be honest with you, 90 to 95% of Windows 365 is basically Intune. But why are we doing that? Why are Nerdio doing this? Well, the reason we're doing this is because the workspace has evolved. If you were at my talk earlier today, 1, thanks for coming. 2, hope you enjoyed it. 3, this is the kind of thing that set me off on this path. The things that we've been doing for the last 20 plus years, this is changing. It's changing not very rapidly, but it's changing very quickly. We used to have to look after our home life and home devices, and we had our office life and our office devices, and if you were really lucky, you would kind of get some kind of middle ground, or you might be allowed to log into like a virtual desktop, and that was kind of it. That's really changed now, and we are seeing all kinds of different delivery models within the same end user estate. Nothing is perfect. Microsoft are really trying to push this Windows 365 message, but the truth is Windows 365 is not the answer to everything. It is a pretty decent answer to a lot of things, but we're seeing these environments where we're dealing with everything. We're dealing with Office, we're dealing with Macs in Office, we're dealing with Macs at home, we're dealing with mobile devices. And where we're trying to get to with Nerdio is to give you a product that's providing value not just over your AVD stack and not just over your virtual desktop stack, but also then beginning to integrate those mobile estates, beginning to integrate your Intune estate. What value can we bring to you when we're talking about Intune and perhaps some of the deficiencies that it has? Like I said, some of us are used to coming from very mature tool sets with a level of polish, and you're getting good interfaces and you're getting good feedback, and you kind of have really good control over those environments. And if you're moving to some of these Microsoft native technologies, the experience is not as slick. There are things in Intune that are just difficult to do, or they don't exist, or it's hard to get to the information, or If you want to check the status of a load of policies against a device, you have to check all of the policies and not just the device, all this kind of stuff. So that's the direction we're heading and why. To give you some background, we're tied very closely to Microsoft. We were their partner of the year last year for these technologies. And we have a kind of co-development and working relationship with Microsoft. So all of the stuff that we're doing is essentially an extension of that kind of almost native Microsoft ecosystem. All of the stuff that we're doing comes through Microsoft Marketplace in Azure. We bill you through Microsoft. It's all very easy. If you want to talk to us about that, I'll be upstairs for the rest of the day and we can have a talk about that. But what are we looking at here? Okay, so we're giving you, like I said at the beginning, very trite phrase. We've probably heard it all for the last 20 years, a single pane of glass. But we really think that we are hoping to begin to get to that point where we're giving you a single pane of glass. As an admin, you're able to log in to one area and you're able to manage the life cycle and fully control everything that is happening across all of your end user workloads, whether that's AVD, whether that's Windows 365, or whether that's your physical devices that are hooked into Intune, whether they're laptops, whether they're, I don't know, iPads or Android tablets, giving you access to be able to think about looking at managing all of these different devices for a unified console. Why do we want to do that? Well, like I said, it's about choosing the right cloud endpoint. What is the most suitable technology for those people to use? Some people are using a mix of technologies. They might be using a mix of devices. Not everything is going to be one size fits all. Everyone is going to have different requirements. We can try and bring all of that into one place for you and make it more manageable. This is just an example of some of the stuff that we're building at the moment. So this is, ignore the beta, it's out of the Intune Insights. So this is an extension to Intune that's part of the Nerdio product. We'll go in, we don't have our own agent. Most of the stuff that we do is completely agentless. We're putting in extra information from Graph API, other Azure native APIs. We're putting in extra information that we can get to through some scripts on the endpoint that are run through Intune. We're putting all of that information back into the Nerdio database. Because I haven't done the AVD spiel, it's really important to know that Nerdio Manager for Enterprise, NME, which is the product I'm talking about, it's not SaaS. We don't just give our version of Nerdio access to your tenants. We install components directly into your tenant, into your subscription. So it's almost completely isolated from anything we can do. All we get is information to say 400 users have used it this month, and then we will supply that information to Microsoft so that they can bill you. But this is not what I would term to be a true SaaS solution. This is a software solution that we deliver into your environment that you get to put hands on and touch, and you can handle it. Obviously, we'll take care of all the feeding and watering and make things really easy for you, but when it comes to kind of security considerations, anything like that, it's all inside your tenant in Azure. Nothing from your Intune estate is disappearing out into another cloud or another area run by someone else. This is all sat inside your own tenant, super secure, very reliable, very easy to access, and have those conversations with risk and security people to try and get it across the line. So we're bringing in this information from Intune. We're giving you high-level interactive dashboards. They're fully customizable. You can go in. We've got loads of pre-canned widgets, drag-and-drop interface. You can have multiple dashboards per user. New feature coming in the version due in a couple of weeks. You're going to be able to share dashboards between users. So if you have a NOC or SOC type function that have specific roles and they need to see information at a high level about what's happening in your Intune estate, you can build those dashboards. Like I said, it's all interactive and click-through. If we had an OS patch status here, if you clicked on no support, you would go directly into the view of all the devices in your estate that were currently running an out of support OS. So really drilling down the kind of time it's taking to get to the information you need to in your environment. We have this across our existing Azure Virtual Desktop piece as well. Better insights here, better information, more than you would get by using native AVD. Same for Windows 365. Again, very similar set of dashboards, information, things that you're going to be missing when you move away from some of those older tool sets that you're used to. Things like the Horizons of this world, things like the Citrixes of this world. AVD does not have this stuff built in. So just telling you about some of the interesting features that we have, specifically around Intune and Nerdio. one thing that's massive to me is when I first started dealing with Intune, it really surprised me that it was so point in time. Once you've kind of made a change, it's there, it's in your environment, it's live. There's no real capability to kind of stage things unless you leave them as unassigned, and that means you have to stand up separate policies. And if you stand up separate policies, it takes ages for them to roll out sometimes, and then you get into this cycle of just things not really running very quickly. But it's a known issue of Intune, so what can we do to kind of help that? Well, we've built in our own policy lifecycle management tool here, which hooks directly into your Intune estate. We look at all of your Intune policies across 6 different areas. We perform automated change tracking and logging, so who's making the change, what was the change. We have full kind of recovery of those, so we can go back to any of the versions of that policy throughout the life cycle of the policy and give you one-touch restore of either the policy content itself or just the assignments, or a wholesale rollback of the policy and the assignments, giving you full control over all of those policies inside of your estate. We can take existing backups of policies and compare them to the current policy or even previous versions of backups, so you can see what has actually changed throughout the life cycle of those policies. And we have a couple of bits at the bottom here around policy templates, so that's some pre-canned stuff out of the box. In Azure at the moment, if you want to deploy CIS hardened images, I'm not sure if any of you are working in regulated industries where that's a thing, we will give you CIS policy baselines that you can apply in Intune for free, so you don't have to buy or pay for the CIS baselined images. That's quite nice. We also have really nice, super duper easy to use Intune policy conflict identification. If any of you have used policy configurations or config policy, in Intune at scale, this will be a real pain point for you. So today, Azure will tell you that you have a conflict. Tomorrow, it will tell you that you have a conflict and what policies are involved. But we've taken it a number of steps further, and have done for a while now, actually. And we will also identify the setting that is involved in the conflict. We will also notify you of the values that are conflicting, and also the assignments as to the context in why we're getting a conflict here. Now, people always say, can you just remediate that? There's no button to remediate. The reason for that is we don't really know which one of these is correct, so you are still going to have to do some legwork there around assessing what is the correct course of action to take. But if any of you have dealt with this in native Intune, this is amazing. This is going to save you hours, potentially a day, if you're dealing with these conflicts on a regular basis. I really like it. This, in conjunction with just the policy backup management, is really powerful. A new feature that we're introducing is policy change approval workflow. So this is around if someone is there going to make a change to a policy in Nerdio, what we can do is we can get in the middle of that and it will alert an admin to the fact that a policy is about to be changed. They can go into this view here. They can view the details of the change, so they can see the kind of previous policy, they can see what the new one is, do a comparison. They can view any notes where the person who's logging the change to that policy has put in some information. Maybe you've got a change request system, they can put in some numbers there, and just get some good information about who's making the change, why they're doing it, what is the differences between the current and the new policy, and then they've just got a simple deny or approve. If you deny it, you can leave a note and just say, look mate, this is crazy, you're going to delete everything, rejected, or this looks good, approve. As soon as you hit that approve, it's going to run through the system, and that new version of the policy is going to get placed into your Intune environment. So really cool stuff there. Finally, we're talking about remote supportability. So this is a new piece for us. I did say earlier that pretty much everything is agentless. This is the only thing that requires an agent. And it's basically a better version of Quick Connect, or let's call it an integrated version of something like TeamViewer or BombGar or whatever you're using across your estates today. And this is essentially a interactive remote support tooling. We support attended and unattended modes. We support the ability to sign into the console session of a machine. We support the ability to share a session with a machine, so we can go onto a multi-session machine and kind of support any of the users that are in the context of any of the users on that machine or just in the console. We also have diagnostics, which is an interesting one. So we've called this Toolbox, and that gives you the ability to not connect to any sessions on the machine, but it will give you a full-featured set of tooling. It will give you access to command prompt, to PowerShell prompt, registry editor, task manager, and you can begin going in the background without even having to interrupt the user at all, and potentially begin fixing things in their session, maybe without them even knowing that you're on their machine. I'm fully aware that's totally not allowed in some markets, but we have controls around that, so we could have the ability to turn that on or off depending on the kind of jurisdiction and things that are happening there. Like I said, it is agent-based. There is live chat and call support and video call support in that product as well. People are like, oh, well, we normally use Teams for that. Well, obviously, fine, but what if the problem is Teams is broken? At least you've got another route to kind of sort that stuff out. So kind of all the basic things you would expect from a support tool, we have in our remote supportability tool. Even though it's agent-based, like I said, it is all through that single pane of glass. So if we were to go into a set of hosts, or even just do a search on a user, it will bring up all of the devices that they're using, all of the devices that there are sessions on, and it's literally 2 clicks and you're into a support session with them. Okay, I've run out of time now. So, Neil, you got one question.
Yeah, talk about agent side of things. Could you see a point in time when Nerdio may have an agent which can be deployed to kind of help with text experience, that type of thing, where you can just pull more information in about the experience into Nerdio?
Today, definitely not, but it is Ignite next week.
Welcome to equipment product management, Neil.
If anyone's got any other questions, I'm around all day. We can take it offline, whatever. I'll also be upstairs for a bit. I'll also be about for drinks later. Say hello. We're really keen to hear from you, what you think about it. Thanks very much.